All right, good morning, guys. So you may remember from class a couple days ago that we looked at graphing quadratics that were in vertex form. Okay, well today we're going to look at what happens when we graph a quadratic in standard form. All right, so you might remember from our polynomial unit that a function in standard form is written based off of the highest degree in descending order. So here we have an x squared, we have an x, and the a, b, and c simply just represent the coefficients in front of the x's, and the c is the constant at the end. All right, so it's the term that doesn't have a letter. So we write them in descending order like this. All right, and it's a quadratic because the highest degree is 2. Now, because it doesn't have the parentheses and it's not written in vertex form, we can't identify it just by looking at it. So to identify the vertex to graph, we have to use this formula right here, where we take the opposite of the b value, right, that's the negative b, and divide that by 2a. Right, so what we're going to do in the first example, all right, is we're going to take the equation f of x equals 2x squared plus 4x plus 3. Right, so now the equation is x equals negative b over 2a. Okay, so in this formula, the a is 2, the b is 4, and the c is 3. Okay, so my equation, we say negative b over 2a. So then in the numerator, I have a negative 4. The denominator, I have positive 4. We divide those, and that gives us negative 1. Okay, now this right here only represents the x value of the vertex. So to find the y value, okay, we take it and we plug this number in for x. So y is equal to f of negative 1, which means we take negative 1 and we plug it in. Right, so here we have two x values, so I put negative 1 in for both of those. All right, so first we're going to do our exponents. Negative 1 squared is 1, so that's 2 times 1, which is 2. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4 plus 3. When I add those, 2 minus 4 is negative 2. Negative 2 plus 3 is 1. So the vertex is negative 1, 1. Now, if I want to sketch the graph of this, okay, we can do it the exact same way that we did in standard form. I can go negative 1, 1 to get my first points on either side. All right, remember, so I've got the axis of symmetry that goes right through the middle, okay, which down here, that's the line x equals negative 1. But if we take our a value like we did before, remember, we're going to make 2 points up on either side. Okay, and then we can sketch our parabola. So just as easy as vertex, okay, but we just have to do a little more math to get the vertex. Okay. Now, the last point that I want to show you is the y-intercept. The y-intercept is whenever the x value is 0, but we find it by using the c value. So the y-intercept is 0, 3, right, which we just happen to have that same exact point right here from when we graphed it. Okay? All right, I'm going to take a look at a couple more examples on the back, and then you guys will have enough to work some out on your own. All right, so for B, example B here. All right, now, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find my A, my B, and my C. So the a is in front of the x squared, where there's not a number here, it's assumed to be 1. My b is 2, c is 4. So to find the vertex, we use the formula x equals negative b over 2a. So that's going to be negative 2 over 2 times 1. It's negative 2 over 2. Okay, I divide those, and I get negative 1. So my y value, okay, is equal to f of negative 1. So I plug negative 1 into x, Now, if you want to get the y value, you can put this entire expression into the calculator, but you have to make sure that you use parentheses, otherwise the calculator will read it wrong. Okay, the calculator, if you don't use parentheses, it'll read this as -1. All right, when we know that negative times a -1, right, is a +1. Then 2 times -1 is -2 plus 4 gives us a -1 plus 4. I get 3. So my vertex is -1, 3. The axis of symmetry, remember, is the x value of the vertex. It's -1. And my y-intercept is when the x value is 0, okay, but it's also the c value. So it's 0, 4. Okay, so we can put all this information. My vertex is -1, 3. Okay, my axis of symmetry goes right through the middle of this. I have a y-intercept at 0, 4. Right? And my a value is also 1, so that means we go up 1 on either side. And we already had that point there. So now we can draw our parabola. All right, 2 more examples. Okay, and then we'll be done here. So this example, my a is -3, b is -6, c is -5. You're okay, you can come in, Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, seriously. It's okay. I'll be 4 minutes. No, seriously, come in. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and use the x equals -b over 2a. Right? So now notice here the b is a -6. So we're going to say -6 over 2 times -3. Now notice here we have 2 negatives. So that's going to make this a +6. This right here, that makes that a -6. We divide those and we get a -1. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and find my y value, which we get from plugging in -1. It's -3 times -1 squared minus 6 times -1 minus 5. Right? So we simplify. -1 squared is 1. Right? -3 times 1 is -3. -6 times -1 is +6. Subtract 5. We add all these together, get 3 minus 5 is -2. So my vertex is -1, -2. The axis of symmetry is still x equals the x value. Right? We're getting a lot of -1s here. My y-intercept is 0, -5. Okay. Now, notice my a value is -3. So from the vertex, we go down 3 on either point, and notice where it lines up. Okay. Right here on that point. Okay. There's your graph. All right. Okay, we've got one more. Okay, and then you guys can take the chance to work some on your own. So indeed, this last example, a is -0.5, b is 2, c is 3. To get the vertex, we use x equals -b over 2a. So it's a -2 over 2 times -0.5. Okay? So the numerator, that becomes -2. Right? 2 times 0.5 is 1, but a negative makes it a -1. I divide those and I get 2. Okay? To find the y, we find f of 2, which simply just means we're plugging 2 in for x. Okay, so we have 2 x values, we plug 2 in for both of them. Now, once again, you can put this into the calculator, or we can do our exponents first. Okay, -0.5 times 4. This is just a half, right? So it's a half of 4, but it's a negative half of 4, so that's a -2. Plus 4 plus 3. That's going to give us 2 plus 3, okay, which is 5. So my vertex is 2, 5. Okay. My axis of symmetry is x equals 2, and the y-intercept is 0. We use our c value, just 3. Right? So we can put our axis of symmetry. My y-intercept is 3. Okay. And notice here my a value is a -1/2. That doesn't mean it's like down 1/2. It means we go down 1/2 on either side. Okay? We can sketch the parabola. All right? That's it. So you guys now have a Pearson assignment, and you can work on finishing. Thanks.